Good evening. I call the February 25th, 2025 regular board meeting of the Richland 2 Board of Trustees to order. The agenda for tonight's meeting has been published and made available. May I please have a motion regarding the approval of the agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Trapp?
I move to approve the agenda for the February 25th, 2025 regular board meeting.
The motion has been made by Mr. Trapp. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Trapp and seconded by Mr. Dennis to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. 0 no. The motion passes. We will now move to item 3.1, executive session. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Washington?
I move to convene an executive session for the purpose of discussing student admission requests into the district's adult education program, breach of contracts, and employment recommendations and certified releases.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington and seconded by Mrs. Nash to go into executive session. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. The board will now enter into executive session. May I have a motion to end executive session?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Washington?
I move that we end executive session at 6:17 and resume public session.
The motion has been made to end executive session at 6:17. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington to end executive session at 6:17 and seconded by Mr. Trapp. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The motion is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We will now move into inspirational moment, and I will turn it over to Mr. Dennis.
Good evening, everybody. I have Round Top Elementary School here once again for a program that I believe can be an inspiration to education by helping build critical thinking skills for our young students. I know this program well simply because I've seen it in action as my kids have went to Round Top. And well, just let me introduce our presenters and I'll let them tell you about it. So we have Mrs. Nikki Dennis, and she has been a reading and math interventionist at Round Top Elementary School for the past 7 years. She chose her career path so she could support and engage with her family. She has a 14-year-old son, Miles, and a 10-year-old daughter, and a loving husband, me. I like how you snuck that in there. We also have Mrs. Jessie Paramore. She has served as the lead academic and behavior interventionist at Round Top Elementary School for the past 2 years. With 11 years of education, or with experience in education, Jessie is deeply passionate about making a positive impact on students' lives, especially in fostering their literacy skills. Her love for teaching students to read has been a driving force throughout her career. Outside her professional life, Jessie is a proud wife and mother to 1-year-old daughter, Eleanor, and is eagerly anticipating the arrival of baby Cole. in March, so here in just a few days. So congratulations on your newest addition to the family. Now, let's hear it from these two amazing employees that care so much for our children in the district, and how this critical thinking lab is very inspirational.
Good evening, Richland 2 family. I'm Jessie Paramore, and this is Nikki Dennis. We are here to introduce to you our Critical Thinking Lab. In recent years, our school has observed an increased number of students who are struggling with foundational educational skills critical for academic success. These challenges can hinder their ability to focus, engage, and thrive in a traditional learning environment. To address these concerns, we have reestablished a dedicated critical thinking lab led by our intervention team.
The Critical Thinking Lab is a silent workspace where students rotate through a variety of different stations independently. They are using their building problem-solving skills without the help of their teacher. This encourages them to think critically, which helps improve their fine and gross motor skills. Examples of these include using tweezers to sort small objects, handwriting practice, stacking odd-shaped blocks, stepping stones to improve balance, just to name a few. This was all made possible through the encouragement and support of our principal, Ms. Clarissa Bennett. To purchase our station materials and hands-on activities, we also got adaptive seating. We applied and received a grant from our school PTO and a grant from the Richland 2 Education Foundation. Take a look at our lab in action.
Not give up and just think in different ways, and it was amazing to see.
The Critical Thinking Lab is great because it allows our first graders to work on their fine and gross motor skills that we don't always have time to work on in the classroom, and it benefits them with things like holding their pencil and balance, which is great.
The Critical Thinking Lab was the best part of our day today. My kids got to challenge themselves, and I got to see them not give up and just think in different ways, and it was amazing to see.
The Critical Thinking Lab is great because it allows our first graders to work on their fine and gross motor skills that we don't always have time to work on in the classroom, and it benefits them with things like holding their pencil and balance, which is great.
I like the Critical Thinking Lab because it gives students a hands-on experience to apply thinking skills that they do not particularly use every day inside the classroom.
I love the Critical Thinking Lab because it shows that even our youngest learners in kindergarten can really think about what to do with each activity on their own, and they can really use their critical thinking skills.
I love the Critical Thinking Lab because my kindergartners need that independent practice, and they're learning to develop thinking skills. it's hard for teachers not to jump in to help them. And so it's really been good for teachers and students to really develop those skills to problem solve, to think, to be patient. There's so many skills that they're getting through the Critical Thinking Lab. I've seen it make a difference.
Thank you all very much. And the great thing about this is this inspiration for this, it comes from the heart of these teachers. It's the art of teaching, and they're finding different ways to go about introducing things to the students. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Round Top. And ready for Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, for one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Round Top. And before I go to the consent agenda, I do see Miss Savannah here. Miss Savannah, is that Christmas gift that you have on the floor? Oh, she so deserved that. Thank you for bringing that, Savannah. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with item 5.1, the consent agenda. May I please have a motion regarding the approval of the consent agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Trapp.
I move to approve the consent agenda for the February 25th, 2025 regular board meeting.
The motion has been made by Mr. Trapp. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Trapp and seconded by Mrs. Washington. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The motion is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We will now move into item 6.1, public participation. We do have 2 individuals who have signed up to address the board. You will be given 3 minutes to address the board. To assist with timing, before me, the lights on the table will change colors from green to yellow to red. When you have 30 seconds remaining, the light will turn yellow. When your time is up, the light will turn red and you will hear a tone indicating that your time to speak has expired. Before we begin, I will remind you that our meetings are streamed live and recorded. According to policy BEDH, comments from the public should not include gossip, defamatory words, or abusive or vulgar language. The policy also prohibits in public session any expression of personal complaints about individual school personnel or any other person connected with the school system. Specific student or personnel issues should be handled through the appropriate procedures as indicated in the district policy. Questions asked during public participation will be referred to a staff member for a response at a later time. We will now begin. The first person is Felicia Jones.
Hello, everyone, and happy Black History Month. Anyway, last month I came and told you I was an International Peace Ambassador, a 2-time Humanitarian Award recipient, one in New Jersey, one in California, which was presented by Larry King from CNN. I am also certified to mentor children whose parents are incarcerated. So today I'm here back on Article 16 for the United Nations, since we have 69 to 92% of our youth and public on ADHD medication. And I asked for you to, along with the Child Protective Service and Juvenile Justice Department, to have a class action lawsuit filed for the chemicals that the water is polluted, the air is polluted, and our food is contaminated, which is why most of us are on ADHD medication, and you don't know why. So with this class action lawsuit, it's going to ask for $5,000 a month for life, health coverage for life, counseling for life, and a personal assistance to those who need it. That will end homelessness as well as address that. Next, it was the Article 16 United Nations and World Health Organization is what you're going to use to file this class action lawsuit. Next, I asked about a drone pilot program. So to help with human trafficking, see who's coming and going to school, and gun control. The drones can detect guns. Okay, so I know I only have 3 minutes, but yes, I am the voice for those people who don't have a voice, homeless, the children, handicapped, retarded, and people who have been bombed from the Move House in Philadelphia. I am one of those people, as well as the children on the Gaza Strip. So anything you need from me, I will be willing to, support you guys and what I'm trying to do. So from the womb to the tomb, you're drinking poison water, eating poison food. That first sip of water, it's called microplastics. You're breathing it and eating it every day. There's nothing on the planet that is not contaminated, okay? So next it is the human trafficking. I asked for you to have the school buses put this on the school bus so children have access to call someone so they're not being raped, like one was from September to February 2 years ago in the back of a school bus, as well as your teachers pimping the students in Texas. Google it. We need this to save our kids. It's not for me. I'm 67. 2 of these are my grandkids and a friend. And if you guys will stand up and say what? We agree. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a blessed day. I'm not done because the radiation alters your DNA and causes poisoning. You got to cut your AI time down. Get off of those cell phones and don't put it in the bed with you. Really. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. We will now have Lisa Thomas. Is Lisa Thomas still here? I don't see her, so we will move forward. We will now move to 7.0, special recognitions, and I will turn it over to Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to introduce Ms. Darcy Strickland Rush to present the certificates of acknowledgement.
That's okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Let's give my team a round of applause. I did exactly what I asked.
Before you speak, Ms. Strickland Rush, we're actually doing our special recognition first, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So I read the wrong part of my script.
That's okay.
So I need to restate what I just said, Madam Chair, for the record. And that is that I want to introduce Ms. Darcy Strickland Rush to present our special award to Ms. Anderson.
Yes, ma'am. They were listening to you, not me. That's why they, as they should always. We want to begin this evening recognizing the Honorable Miss Melinda Anderson. She is a trailblazer and a dedicated public servant who has made history as the first African-American woman to be sworn in as a member of the Richland School District 2 Board of Trustees. Ms. Anderson holds the distinction of being the longest-serving trustee in the district's history with an impactful tenure spanning 24 years, starting in 1990. Throughout her service, Ms. Anderson demonstrated exceptional leadership in various capacities, including chairwoman, vice chairwoman, and secretary. Her unwavering commitment to the district is reflected in her servant leadership style, where she consistently prioritized the needs of students, teachers, support staff, and the community. Known for her integrity, fairness, and deep love for all, she has earned the respect and admiration of her colleagues and constituents alike. Her leadership, grounded in a voice of fairness and a heart for service, continues to make a significant impact on the future of Richland School District 2, shaping a brighter path for all who are part of the community she holds dear. Please join me as our Board of Trustees recognizes Ms. Melinda Anderson.
Board members, if you would join us at the front, please.
I'll move it so you can get in. Yeah. You're welcome.
Make me walk further, huh? Good afternoon, good evening. It is my honor to accept this award from District 2. It was my pleasure. I enjoyed serving the students, working with the staff, administration, community, and everyone in this district. I still hold District 2 within my heart because I want all students to get the quality of education that will lead them into a quality adult life. And thank you so much for this opportunity, and I pray that you guys continue on with the glory of District 2, making this the best district in the United States, as I heard the superintendent say last night. Thank you, and I accept your award.
So we're going to take a photo with you first.
I'm not trying to be bougie with this jacket on, but I almost froze last night at the banquet.
fine. Well, Anderson, we need some WD-40 on these wheels over here. We're going to stay right here. Let's give Ms. Anderson another huge round of applause for her service. Well, tonight is a night of celebration as we continue to recognize those who have contributed to making.
Hold on.
No?
No, not yet.
No.
Not quite
We're
yet.
not done yet.
Oh, wait, there's more. Okay.
I want to take a point of privilege just to say to Mrs. Anderson, I personally want to say thank you. Thank you for being a true role model for board members, especially African Americans, because you and Sylvia Hannah, you know, you laid the foundation for many of us, for all of us. We would not be here today if had it not been for you. And personally, I just want to say thank you on behalf of Ridgeview High School. And I say that because as a school administrator at Ridgeview High School, we did not have our own stadium. And because of that, when I was elected to the board, I went immediately to the Queen, that's what I called her, and shared with her that Ridgeview High School needs their own personal stadium. And you know, if anyone knows Melinda Anderson, she's not going to say yes right away. She has to do her homework and her research. And because of that, Ridgeview High School and Richland Northeast have a stadium because of this lady sitting right here before us. And not only that, I'm just going to give a few more. Back many, many years ago, we only had one assistant principal at the elementary school, and I see a lot of the educators nodding. It was Melinda Anderson that said, we need more administrators in the schools. So because of her leadership and her ability to stand firm and strong in what she believed in, the board was able to vote to have 2 assistant administrators in the building. And then finally, I'm going to end with this last tidbit. The place that you're sitting right now, this came because of Melinda Anderson. R2I2 was not even thought of, heard of, dreamed of, or anything. That was Mrs. Melinda Anderson's vision. That's why we're here today. So it is just, I'm just so honored, Mrs. Anderson, to be able to have walked just a little bit in your footsteps and to be able to call you a leader, a friend, and someone who really loves Richland School District 2. So thank you so much for who you are and what you've done, not only for me as a board member that I can still reach out to you and get your advice, but as someone who cares about every student, regardless of zip code, race, background, anything. So thank you so much for your leadership. And this is way overdue. So I am so happy that I have the opportunity to be on the board to give you your honors because it should have been done a long time ago. So you know what? It's never too late. So thank you for the opportunity for just sharing your love with Richland School District 2. Any board members, anything you'd like to say? If not, we're going to move on. Okay. I think I've said it all. So thank you again to your family, and just to the family, thank you so much for sharing your mom and your grandmother with the district, because it took time away from your family, because she cared about so many others that you guys sometimes, she put you to the side to make sure other families had what they needed. So thank you for sharing your mom with us and grandmother with us. Thank you so much. So with that being said, Mrs. Anderson, if you guys want to leave, feel free to do so now. If you want to hang around, it's up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and move forward with Dr. Moore. Now, we are ready for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Ms. Anderson. Like Dr. Scott said, we believe in giving people their flowers while they still can smell them. And so, as I said last night, I am grateful for your leadership. While I was not here when you were on the board, because you served on the board, you opened the door for me to be here as the superintendent today. So thank you for that. Say that louder to the board, please. I'll give you the mic. Thank you. And at this time, Madam Chair, once again, Ms. Darcy Strickland Rush, our Senior Chief of Communications, will present our certificates of acknowledgement to our outstanding Teachers of the Year for Richland School District 2. Ms. Strickland Rush.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Today we have the incredible honor of recognizing some of the most dedicated, passionate, and inspiring educators in our district. Our teachers go above and beyond every single day to shape the minds and the futures of our students, and their impact reaches far beyond the classroom. It is with great pride that we celebrate our District Teachers of the Year, exceptional individuals who exemplify excellence in education and a deep commitment to their students. Please join me in congratulating these outstanding educators. And then just as a housekeeping note, we're going to call up each teacher. We're going to head on outside to the stairs. We're going to take a photo. We're going to recess. We're going to take the board out. We'll take another photo, and then we'll come back. Everybody got it? Okay. Like I said to my kids, got it good? Got it good. Okay, all right, let's go. We're going to start with Bethel Hanbury Elementary School. Ms. Maria Owens is going to, we'll take the photo outside. Yep. Y'all want to come take a photo? Okay, yep. So Ms. Maria Owens is going to help us with that. So we'll have everyone come forward as we shake hands. Ms. Christine Corbett from Bethel Hanbury Elementary School. Lauren Easterling from Blythewood Middle School. Catawba Trails, Michaela McDowell. Mr. Craig China from Dent Middle School. Ms. Lanisha Moskowitz from Forest Lake Elementary. Summer Queen from Killian Elementary School. Ms. Monica Moses from Lake Carolina Upper. Ms. Brittany Clark from Langford Elementary School. Ms. Michaela Walker from Lonnie B. Nelson Elementary School. Ms. Sherry Murray from Condor Elementary. Miss LaKathy Baker from North Springs Elementary. Tiffany Marshall from Polo Road Elementary School. Miss Anna Parrish from Pontiac Elementary. Miss Nicole Simon from Rice Creek Elementary School. Miss Reagan Johnson from Sandlapper Elementary. Miss Erica McCord from Summit Parkway Middle School. And Miss Lakeisha Williams from Windsor Elementary School. Obviously, the recognitions don't stop there. We've got our honor roll teachers. Miss Yoko Wiley from Bookman Road Elementary School. Dr. Nicola Smiling from Longleaf Middle School. Miss Hannah Cummings from Round Top Elementary School. Some of you may be wondering where Miss Julie Russell from Blythewood High School is today. Today is her son's birthday, so she was not able to be with us this evening. But we pause now and we put our hands together as we recognize the Richland School District 2 Teacher of the Year, Miss Rona Stewart. So we are going to head out, take a few photos, and then we'll allow the board chair to recess the meeting for a moment, and then we'll get back started.
Board members, we're going to take about a 5 to 6 minute recess. Thank you.
Or dismissals. Parent Square, the district website, an email from your child's school, R2TV, Twitter or X, Instagram, and Facebook, local news media outlets. And parents, it is important to keep emergency contact information up to date. 2-hour delay. Students should arrive 2 hours later than usual, whether by bus or car. Employees report 2 hours later unless notified otherwise. Early dismissal. School buses will follow regular routes, and parents of car riders and walkers should make arrangements for pickup. School closure. If school is canceled, the day must be made up later in the year unless the governor calls for the cancellation. State law requires 3 makeup days on our calendar: October 18th, 2024, January 6th, 2025, and March 21st, 2025. E-learning. Instruction on these days may be synchronous or asynchronous. Schools don't have to make up e-learning days. Schools are allowed 5 e-learning days per school year. It's vital to keep your emergency contact information in Parent Portal current so you can receive important updates. Follow us on Twitter or X, Instagram, Facebook, and please check our website often for updates during severe weather. Sometimes the road may be clear where you are, but our schools might be unsafe or our teachers and staff are unable to travel. There are a lot of factors that go into making these difficult decisions. Bottom line, we will do everything we can to ensure the safety of your children. Thank you for your understanding, patience, and support as we navigate winter weather together. Stay safe and stay informed.
Hi, I'm Abby Cobb, the lead school social worker for the district.
And I am Dr. Otasha Morgan, the lead school counselor for the district. Richland School District 2 is extremely excited to announce and share with our entire community a new partnership with Care Solace. Effective immediately, all Richland 2 students, their families, and staff have the ability to use Care Solace at no cost. First, what is Care Solace? Care Solace is a mental health coordination service that is available 24/7, 365 days, and is accessible in multiple languages. Richland School District 2 will use Care Solace to support its commitment to ensuring accessible mental health care. This initiative demonstrates the district's dedication to building a resilient community where everyone has equal opportunities to thrive. Care Solace will help you get connected with mental health and/or substance abuse services by providing you information about which mental health providers are covered by your insurance, which providers may be the best fit for you and your family, and can help you get an appointment scheduled.
Second, how do you access Care Solace? There are 2 ways to access mental health coordination services. First, a member of administration and/or the learning support services staff at your school can complete a referral on your behalf. You can reach out to your school and they will gladly gather the information needed to make a referral on your behalf. The second option is for you to self-refer by using the designated Richland 2 Care Solace website that is linked in this message, and you will always be able to access Care Solace from the Richland 2 website. The Care Solace website allows you to complete the referral yourself. You can call the number on the website and do the referral over the phone, or you can use the website to get a list of providers in your area. To recap, you can reach out to your school and they will gladly make a referral on your behalf, or you can use the self-serve Care Solace website that's designated for the Richland 2 community. Third, what can you expect from Care Solace? Once Care Solace receives your referral, a care companion will be in touch with you at a time that is convenient to your schedule. They'll ask about your insurance, your needs, and preferences. This is called an intake session. After intake, they will seek providers that meet your needs. Then you will receive a provider options that have been vetted and are in good business standing. You'll have the ability to pick the provider you want, and Care Solace can help make the first appointment with you on the phone. They will also follow up with you to see if you're satisfied with the services.
Richland 2 believes your mental wellness is important, and we wish to help increase the access that our students, our families, and staff have to mental health and substance abuse services. We think Care Solace can help increase that access, and we encourage our Richland 2 community to take advantage of this great opportunity.
Board members, I would like to call the meeting back to order, and we're going to begin with item 8.0, voting on executive session items. We'll start with 8.1, student admission request into the district adult education program. May I
Madam Chair.
please- Mr. Dennis is so, oh, is that Mr. Trapp? You're
it's
in
all right.
such a hurry. Okay. May I please have a motion regarding the student admission request into the district's adult education program? I told them we're getting out early, so they just told me, no, I'm kidding. Mr. Trapp?
Trying to be more efficient. Yes. I move to approve the student admission request into the district's adult education program for student number 1.
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Trapp. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Trapp and seconded by Mrs. Porter. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The motion is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We'll now move to item 8.2, breach of contract. May I please have a motion regarding the breach of contracts?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Washington?
I move that we direct the administration not to make a formal complaint to the State Department of Education regarding the professional employee number 1.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington, seconded by Mr. Trapp. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Yes.
Madam Chair.
Check the motion,
Yeah.
Mrs. Washington.
It should say, I move that we direct administration not to make a formal complaint.
Are we able to see it? Okay. The motion is 6 yes, 1 no. The motion passes. May I still have a motion regarding employment recommendations? I'm sorry, breach of contracts.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Washington.
I move that we direct the administration to make a formal complaint to the State Board of Education regarding professional employee number 2.
The motion has been made. Is there a second? Second. The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington, seconded by Mrs. Nash. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. May I please have a motion regarding the breach of contract for employee number 3?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Washington.
I move that we direct the administration not to make a formal complaint to the State Board of Education regarding employee number 3.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington. Is there a second? Second. The motion has been made by Mrs. Washington and seconded by Mrs. Nash. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The vote is 6 yes, 1 no. The motion passes. We will now move to item 8.3, employment recommendations and certified releases. May I please have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Nash.
I move to approve the employment recommendations and certified releases as presented.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Nash. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Mrs. Nash and seconded by Mr. Dentis. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We will now move to item 9.0, new business, no action requested. Dr. Moore?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next agenda item that we will present today is our second quarter financial report and budget update. And I would like to ask Ms. Nancy Williams, our Senior Chief Financial Officer, to present this information to the board.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Moore. I stand before you to provide the board-requested update on the positions and other items adopted in the 25 budget, and also to provide you with a second quarter financial report as of December 31st, 2024. Okay, so as it relates to the budget priorities in the 25 budget, line items 1 through 4 have been fully implemented. All 7 positions in priority number 5 have been hired. And all of the initiatives in line items 6 through 8 have been fully implemented. In lines 9 and 10, all positions have either been moved into the general fund or hired. In line 11, related to special education support, all positions have been filled with the exception of the sign language interpreter, which remains vacant. And then line item 12 is filled. Line items 13 and 14 have been fully implemented. And the positions in line item 15, well, the one position related to a teacher's aide has been filled. In line 16, the instructional facilitators, 22 of those 29 positions have been filled with 7 vacant. The e-school teachers in line 17 have both been filled. And then in line 18, the interventionist, 1 interventionist position has been filled, and 3 are currently vacant. The LSS staff in line item 19, the counselor positions have all been filled. That nurse floater position in line 20 is still vacant. And then in 21, those counselor positions have been filled. And then 22 and 23, the contract and those stipends have been implemented. For priority number 24, 2 of those athletic trainer positions have been filled and 3 are currently vacant. Lines 25 through 26 have been implemented. The positions in line 27, the lead positions to APs have been upgraded, as well as in line 28. And then that 1 tech position at the PAC has been hired. Okay, so just to summarize, all of the teacher and instructional assistant positions in the budget, approved in the budget, have been filled. 22 of the 29 instructional facilitator positions have been filled. 4 of the academic interventionists, we're still, again, the sign language interpreter position is vacant, but all of the counselor, health room aide positions have been filled, and that nurse floater position is still vacant. Social worker, attendance, interventionist, family liaison, all of those positions have been filled, as well as the physical therapist assistant. The athletic trainer, as I just said, 2 of those positions are filled, 3 are vacant. The registrar's office position, the assistant principal position, they have been filled, and that PAC position should be in the filled column, which should bring the total number of filled positions to 88.6 and vacant to 15. Okay, so there is an error on that slide. I do apologize. I'll get the corrected information to you. So 88.6 filled and 15 vacant.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. So board members, I hope you can see that we have been aggressively pursuing opportunities to fill all of the vacancies that the board had approved. Of course, there's still some gaps that we're trying to fill, the nurse one in particular. It's very challenging right now with the nursing shortage to find a nurse, a licensed nurse to support. So, but we are making sure that first and foremost, we cover our schools and then work towards filling the positions that are at the district level. And with that, we'll turn it over to Madam Chair for any questions.
Board members, are there any questions?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Dennis?
Yes. Are we not seeing a lot of applicants for the instructional facilitators, interventionists, sign language? I know the nurse shortage, but I mean, have we seen people interested, or are they just we're not getting like qualified people coming in or anything like that? For the instructional facilitators, academic interventionist, sign language interpreter, athletic trainer, and the PAC technician.
Good evening, board members. So, Mr. Dennis, the question about the PAC technician, that position has been filled. That person is currently working in that position. That was the oversight as we were preparing the report. So that position's filled. The instructional facilitator position that you're talking about, which is the virtual facilitators, we were only using those as needed. So that position is actually for the virtual classroom. So when we have a virtual teacher, we assign a virtual facilitator to that. And as you recall, we've used several of those vacancies to cover the need that we had at Pontiac this year. So we have only used like 10 of those positions to fill classrooms, and the others have been been used to cover needs at Pontiac this year with classroom teachers and other staff. And then can you just give me the other positions that you said again? The speech position speech is definitely a challenge for us to fill. We're doing a good job filling them, but we have had some challenges there because that's just one of those difficult positions that we are finding. We actually are scheduling a meeting to meet with our speech teachers in the near future, speech pathologists, to meet with them, because if you recall, last year that was one of the groups that we did not address during our classification study, and so we are looking at them being addressed in phase 2. So we're hoping that that will address some of those as we bring a recommendation to the board for that group of staff members.
And for the athletic trainers, Mr. Dennis, part of the challenge is the class. They don't want to teach the class, they only want to do the trainer aspect of it. And so that is one of the struggles that we've dealt with in filling the additional 3 vacant positions.
Because what the goal is there, Mr. Dennis, is that our head athletic trainers would not be teaching the class, that our assistants would be teaching the class, so that we would have 2. We'd have a head that would be managing the actual program. The assistant would be instructing in the classroom, and then that would give us still added coverage of having 2 trainers on there, but we have not been able to fill all of those positions.
Thank you. Mrs. Porter?
Yes, I have 2 questions. Don't go too far. Okay. For the speech certified positions, yeah. I know, I did some research on that position, and I learned that there is 2 different pay scales for speech certified based on how they're certified. That there's one like for educators, and then there's one for like if you're
A clinician.
Say that again?
A clinician.
Yes, and a clinician. With that being said, and hearing so much about wanting a change in that pay scale, I was just curious to know if we offered any incentives for those speech teachers to get the level of certification for a clinician, being that many of the arguments that were made were that their pay was not in alignment with jobs that they could get outside of school, but yet the certification is different outside of school. So I'm just curious if that's something that we offer for them.
That is not something that we have offered before. That is, I know that in the special education department, they do provide them covering their license and licensure things that they have to take care of. But as far as providing additional compensation or coverage for training, we have not. But those are things that we're sitting at the table to talk to them about what do they feel like they would need to make it more attractive here. We follow the same pay structure that is basically used throughout the district, throughout the state, where they're paid based on the teacher salary scale, because they do have to have in order to be in a school, they do have to have a certification through this district. So that's currently what we're doing. We know that there are at least 1 or 2 other districts that's doing a more aggressive pay schedule, which is one that they've introduced to us last year. But of course, due to that schedule, we were not able to accommodate that. But we are definitely going to have conversations about what they need. We started those conversations, but we're going to continue those conversations with the actual pathologists, because we've been meeting with the administration more so than the others. But that is on our schedule to do and bring back a recommendation to the board.
And my second was the nursing position. I saw that one wasn't filled. I'm curious, is that a similar situation? Is the nurse pay scale different than what they would get paid outside?
Definitely. So our nurse pay schedule is paid, it's on a separate schedule, but it mirrors our bachelor's degree for teachers. So it starts at the $50,000, which is definitely not in line with what a nurse would make. So they really have to want to do it because it's balancing schedules, matching maybe family schedules, or just a need to work in a school setting. But as far as the compensation, we don't compensate nearly what they would be making if they were working in a, in a healthcare facility or in a hospital.
And is that pay that we offer comparable to our surrounding districts?
That
for
is another one
position?
of those that we're looking at this, for this next phase of our work. So I would probably say that it is probably not at the level, because I know Richland 1 has a different structure that they use. And so that's another one of those positions that we know we've got to look at. And Ms. McAdams has access to do that a lot. So we are engaging in that conversation as well.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, Mrs. Porter. Any other questions? Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Mrs. Williams?
Thank you. For your sign language interpreter services, have we thought about, or do we use contractors for that already? And it's still difficult to fill that?
Yes, we do have contract staff for that, but that is just one of those positions that we haven't found the right person for that position. So we have some contractors that are doing some others in working individually with students, but that one's just one that we haven't been able to fill yet.
Even virtually, interpreter services?
That is not, we have not looked at virtual. I mean, we take the recommendation based on special education, and if they make a recommendation for virtual, we would definitely look at that, but I don't think a virtual has been identified as a possible solution for the position.
Okay, thank you.
Board members, any other questions? I just have one question. When we fill a vacancy, how long does it take us to remove it from the website? And I'm asking that question because I'll get so many calls about vacancies that we have, and then when I reach out, you guys will say, well, we filled that 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. So what is the process time to, once you have filled that position, that you remove it from the website?
So once a recommendation is made, the position should be removed from the website.
That's not happening.
Okay, I'll follow up with my staff, with the employment services staff, but once a recommendation is submitted from the principal or from the hiring supervisor, the position should be removed from the website to not allow applicants to continue to apply for it.
Okay.
Unless it's a position that's in a pool, but if it's an individual position that's available, it should be removed there. So I will follow up on that and note it in the board brief to you, Dr.
Okay.
Scott.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mrs. Williams.
She's got another part.
Oh, you have a second part. She's thinking, I'm getting ready to sit down since she said thank you. Okay, part 2.
Okay, so let's see. Oh, yeah, that's tiny. I have to look at my paper on this one. No, I have a paper copy. I'm gonna have to look down at this one. So I draw your attention on this first page to the third column on the first page, third column, entitled Actual. At the end of the second quarter, we are a little ahead with our indirect cost recovery. The collections will level out now that ESSER 2 is completely out of our system. The local revenue is on track as property tax bills are due in January. We're also on track with the collection of our state revenue. Okay, so everything's on track there. On the next page, page 2. As it relates, excuse me, to the general fund expenditures, I draw your attention to columns 3 and 4, the actual and the encumbrances. So at the end of December, we had actual expenditures of $167,818,572, and encumbrances or open POs of $22,759,388. So also on this page, I draw your attention to the purchase services category. So based upon actual expenditures and encumbrances that may occur due to those open purchase orders, we will be $3,153,005 over budget for that category. So included in purchase services are items such as software purchases, copier rentals, travel, audit fees, legal fees, and staffing needs, such as Defender, our SROs contracted through the Sheriff's Office, and staff needed to fill vacancies. And so right now, I hope to come back before you next month to request a budget transfer from other expense categories to that purchase services line. So just to give you an idea of what that request would look like, as Dr. Foster just alluded to, since we are using contracted services to fill some of our vacancies, we would essentially need a transfer from the salary and fringe benefits line to the purchase services category. If you come further down the page to the other objects section, we are projected to be over in that category by $310,535. So in that other objects category, it consists of items like our liability insurance, memberships for like AVID or School Board Association, and then any pupil activities that schools may decide to spend their general fund budget or at-risk budget on. They're included in that other category item. Also, we have our fund modifications or transfers, as we call them, for like our transfer to workers' compensation or for food service fringe, or where we pay our special obligation bond. They're all included in that other objects category, and that would also be included in a budget request to you next month, explaining kind of where we would like to transfer funds to cover those expenditures. Okay. On the next page, let me not look up. We have our, let's see what's on this one, our EIA funds. So as of December 31st, 2024, we had received, to the bottom of the second column, $19,177,459 and expended $18,574,461. And on this particular page, I draw your attention to Fund 377, teacher supplies. So at the end of December, we had spent more than we'd received from the state, but that's typical because the state usually sends an additional teacher supply payment in January after the official November 30th reconciliation that's listed in, that's stated in proviso. So that's normal. Okay. The next page, page 4, lists our special revenue funds. And so this page pretty much includes all of our reimbursable federal grants and funds that begin with a 2. So then you go about 2/3 down the page, and you'll see our child nutrition program for our school breakfast and lunch programs that starts with the 6. And then also included on this is our pupil activity funds that are generated, that capture the revenue generated from schools, which starts with the 7. And then you come down to the bottom of the very bottom of the page, and you'll see our 800 and 900 funds that account for awards that flow through to our district from the State Department of Education or other entities. So if you go back and our revenue received to date from all of our special revenue funds is $26,910,401. Expended to date, $19,001,472. And then if you go back up slightly to Fund 600, Child Nutrition Cluster, it looks like we have a negative balance of $14,378,001, but that will not be the case at the end of the year. Essentially what happened is our staff did a $20 million purchase order at the beginning of the year to cover our food service provider, but as those monthly payments come in, it's not nearly that amount. So our actual expenditures at the end of the year will be substantially less than the budget that's currently encumbered with that PO. The next page, we have the board's budget. So based upon a $482,996 budget, $201,484 has been expended as of the end of the second quarter. And we have outstanding encumbrances or POs of $76,722. The final page of this handout provides an update on our capital projects. So at the end of the second quarter, expenditures from the initial referendum proceeds was $460,499,336. And then to the bottom of the page, the expenditures from our 8% debt issuance last June, $2,163,236. That concludes my presentation.
Board members, are there any questions? Mrs. Washington?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So earlier this school year, we had talked about the food operations balance being about $500,000, I think, $500,000. What is our plan for that? I think there were balances that were being carried over because students were not paying their lunch debt.
I may have to defer to Mr. Anderson on that one.
Okay.
You sure are deferring a lot. I'm just
I'm
kidding.
sorry.
I'm just kidding.
We're all a team.
I'm
We're
just
all a
kidding.
team.
I'm just kidding. So the question was the debt for the students. We really don't have any repercussion for that. We are working really hard with SFE, our food service provider, and our schools to ensure that students do pay, but we do not turn kids away from eating. It's not the child's fault that they can't have food. So we work through communication methods with our families, but we don't have really any means. The state law about a year ago that we can't send anybody to collections. And so, and just to piggyback off what was said earlier, we are actually getting revenues are similar from the federal government as they are from the state. So the revenues are lacking that we're getting to pay our food service provider, and we had that large encumbrance, but we anticipate being in the black in our overall food service account. But that $500,000, it does continue to rise. I'm not gonna lie, we have kids that still charge, that don't have money on their accounts, and we're working with schools on other ways to do that. We really don't like cash for a variety of reasons. So right now, we really don't have any other repercussions to hold people accountable to pay their meals. I hope that answers your question.
And then are we looking, do you know if we will have any other schools that are eligible for the CEP, or CEP eligible?
We are in a 3-year period, year 2, but right now, and Ms. Williams and probably others can help me, we don't really know what's going on with the federal government, where that money comes from. For example, a few weeks ago, that memo that came, that the USDA food was part of that as well. So right now, we're on hold with anything from the state until they kind of get more guidance from the federal government on what happens. But we are right now, for the next 3 years or 2.5 years, have CEP for those schools. But right now, we're trying to be as conservative as possible with our funds in case something bad happens.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, can I just add one thing to what Mr. Anderson said, because I want everyone to understand that we do not shame students when they don't have resources for their meals. And by that, what I mean is we don't give them a cheese sandwich or anything less. They can get a full meal just like any other student because it's not the student's fault. And yes, the fees do rack up, and we hope that by the time the student graduates that debt is covered. But we are very intentional to make sure that we live out our core value of belonging for every student.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Board members, any other questions? Mr. Dennis?
So when we were talking about like recouping money and knowing where things come from. I actually learned something at this school board event, so this kind of pertains to it. But are we using any of like the services, the South Carolina Law 4852-670 for the guaranteed water, energy, and wastewater savings contracts? Are we using any of that to help offset?
I'm not sure, do you know?
Look into that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
We have a performance contract with some savings, and we do a lot of rebates through Dominion and through Fairfield Electric. We work really hard to get but I need to, did you write that number down? We'll need looking at that.
I learned about it, and there was a lot of districts that had no clue.
Yeah.
So I figured if it's out there, we jump on it for the rest of the districts and get our cash first.
No, thank you, Mr. Dennis.
Mrs. Porter? Okay, while Mrs. Porter is thinking, I just have one question. When I was looking at item number 919 for educational license plates, what exactly is that for? For $3,745?
So, you're on 319. Hold on, you said 319?
It's page 4, item 919, educational license plates.
Essentially what happens is for the Apple Tag revenue that's collected through the DMV, it goes to the state, and then the state sends us a portion back of those educators in our area who've received
So if they
the Apple
purchase a
Tag.
license plate,
The Apple Tag.
we
the
get
Apple
money?
license plate.
So why haven't we been promoting that? Hello, somebody? So I think, Dr. Moore, we'll just have you do your homework on that a little later and get back with us as to how we can promote this.
We will be more than happy to put together a media campaign.
Yes, absolutely.
To encourage people to have a educator.
I mean, that's an easy way to make some money and pay off some debt or give teacher increases. Okay, teachers, increase, okay, Apple Tag. Thank you. Board members, any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. Do appreciate it. We'll now move to item 9.2. Dr. Moore with the South Carolina School Boards Association Legislative Update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to introduce Mr. Scott Price, the Executive Director of the South Carolina School Board Association, to present to the board a legislative update.
Thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge my Region 8 Director, Nikki Porter. Thank you all for having me here this evening to talk a little bit about legislative activities at the State House. And as is so often the case, when I get up to talk about legislation, the room clears out. So I apologize for that. The legislature started in January, second week in January, second Tuesday in January. And so they've been there a little bit more than a month. Ways and Means Committee over in the House finished up its version of the budget this past week, $14.6 billion budget. And the floor debate is scheduled for that in the week of March 11th. They also included some $660 million in new recurring revenue. $112 million of that is for state aid for classrooms, and that goes, amongst other things, that goes to the teacher salary schedules that they're mandating. Senate Finance Committee over on the Senate side has started work on its version of the budget. They actually start tomorrow with the subcommittees on the K-12, and then the budget debate for the Senate is scheduled for the week of April 22nd. So looking at what Ways and Means has put in front of the House, and it was a very quick committee discussion. Sometimes they go on for weeks. This time it was a matter of days, and they pretty much brought everything out. So there had been some planning, I guess, going on behind the scenes. They are looking at a key element of the budget proposal is a $1,500 across-the-board pay raise for for teachers in the 25-26 fiscal year. And that would equate to about $48,500 for the entry-level teaching positions. And again, in order to fund that, they included $112 million in state aid to classrooms, which is a little bit short. Both the governor and Superintendent Weaver had encouraged them to include $200 million for teacher salaries to get the starting level up to $50,000. So didn't quite get what the governor had pushed forward. Things could change in the Senate when the bill goes through the House, and it could still be amended in the House, but usually the Senate ends up having a little bit more to work with in terms of funding, so they could change when it goes to the Senate. The budget also included a 2% increase in the statewide minimum bus driver salary schedule. And there will also be an increase in the monthly premiums for insurance premiums for employees will increase $36 in the next year. So we're looking for that. There's also $45 million that's included for the South Carolina Education Scholarship Trust Fund. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. They also included $20 million for school facility safety upgrade grants. And that's for things like door locks and bulletproof glass and access control for schools. And then they also included $35 million for school buses. One of the provisos that I wanted to mention that was adopted in the House is one that is it's proviso 117.DE. And budget provisos are temporary one-year laws, basically, that are attached to the budget. And they're supposed to have, they're supposed to be tied to spending. Sometimes they aren't, but most of they're supposed to be tied to spending from the budget that basically give direction on how money is to be spent. But this proviso 117.DE is a prohibition on DEI programs. And this proviso prohibits state funding for DEI programs across state agencies, schools, and of course school districts, higher education institutions unless required by law. And the restrictions ban DEI offices, DEI hiring preferences, and mandatory training. The proviso excludes academic research, student organizations, or constitutionally protected speech in this prohibition. The House had basically filed a bill, a similar bill, but a much broader bill a couple of weeks ago. And so this proviso basically, the bill hasn't moved anywhere. And a lot of times when that happens, they'll stick a proviso in to just sort of force the issue, included in the budget, so it has to be dealt with at some point. So that proviso is in there. One of the bills that I wanted to mention in talking about, I previously talked about, and by the way, everything that I'm talking to you about is in your weekly legislative update, which came out today. And I just remind you all, you get weekly updates from us, but you also get daily updates in the clips that come out every day. And always welcome any input or thoughts that you may have, or if there's something you feel like you want to reach out for a legislator to do, please let us know. Voucher bill, the K-12 education lottery scholarship bill, Senate Bill 62, that passed out of the Senate within the first 3 weeks when the Senate came in session this year. And that, the chief difference between that and what the House has just done is on how these are funded. The Senate, or the House took the Senate bill. The House Education Committee had a several-hour hearing yesterday and basically did a strike and insert amendment. And again, the biggest differences are between how they're funded. So basically where the Senate version is funded through lottery dollars, and which is a novel approach to this, and the House version basically sets up a trust that's going to be housed at the Department of Education, and and that includes a trustee to be appointed by the State Superintendent of Education, and both sides say that makes it constitutional. The Senate version says their version with the lottery money makes it constitutional. House version with the money from the general fund but going to a trust, they say that makes it constitutional. Of course, they're talking about our constitutional provision that prohibits public dollars to private entities. And so that's what they're trying to work their way around. Only the court will be able to tell us in the future. But the House is scheduled to debate that bill starting tomorrow on the House floor. The other piece that I wanted to mention, and I won't get into a lot of the details about the two versions because that is in the legislative update, and certainly encourage y'all to take a look at that. There is a bill that's passed the Senate, and it's over in the House Education Committee, Senate Bill 277, and this would mandate that school boards live stream all of their public meetings. Vast majority of school boards already do that, but there are some areas in South Carolina where, quite honestly, they don't have either the capability or they don't have the internet access in order to do live streaming. But this is something that's passed the Senate before and has been stopped in the House, but it's sitting over in the House right now. The last thing I'll mention before I see if y'all have any questions, and there was a bill, Senate Bill 38, and it was passed out of the Senate. It's over in the House Judiciary Committee, and this has to do with referenda dates. Right now, special elections, referenda can happen all year long. There's no limits on that. And because of that, the election commissions, not only the state commission, but the local commissions the county commissions have basically come to the legislature. We just don't have the folks to cover all these special elections that are going on out there. And it's not so much the referenda, but it is the special elections that are numerous. So they have put a piece of legislation in that would really set it for certain times of the year that you can have referenda or special elections. And the fourth Tuesday in January, the first Tuesday after the first Monday in April, second Tuesday in June, fourth Tuesday in August or November, and the general election date. And this is a bill that, you know, sometimes you know something's going to probably pass, and the best shot you can take is to do something to try and make it more palatable. And in this case, this is one where we were able to go and get as many possible dates as we could in the legislation. And hopefully, if it does pass, that'll still give as much flexibility at the local level that you all need to be able to respond with referenda when market conditions are right and things like that. So I see that I'm out of time. Does anybody have any questions, Madam Chair? I thank you for the opportunity to be here. This is legislation and advocacy is just so a major role of local boards, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Price. Is there any questions, board members? Any questions? Mr. Trapp?
I do just a couple of things I've run across, and you know, this is so confusing with the House and the Senate bounce these things. So if I ask you something that we've already covered, please forgive me. But I think it's the House Bill 3199, open enrollment expansion. Is that something that is likely to become law?
Well, that's interesting, Mr. Trapp, that you would bring that up, because it's actually in both versions of the voucher bill. The Senate version has its version of open enrollment, and the House basically took the open enrollment bill that had passed in the last year and died in the Senate and put it in their strike and insert. So you have a House, so yes, it's in both versions of the voucher bill. And one of the things that I'll say, and this is again goes back to what I was saying about when the trains left the station, sometimes the best you can do is reach out and touch it as it goes by. And, you know, we're able to get as much flexibility, because the way they've got it designed, the flexibility basically in the House version and in the Senate version, you know, you all get to determine what your capacity is for accepting students. You all get to set tuition, things like that. So it's really gives you a lot of flexibility, and hopefully wouldn't be as egregious as you normally would think that an open enrollment bill would be.
So it's unlikely it would be the doors fly open and whoever wants to do whatever can? I mean,
No,
that's,
sir.
okay. I mean, yeah, that's alarming if that was the case. The only thing I want to ask you about is I thought this was interesting. I think the Senate, maybe Senate Bill 78 and maybe 88, I'm not sure which, allowing relevant prior work experience to count toward teacher salary schedule. Is that something you think will get traction and go anywhere?
Well, I'll say this, I've learned I've been working with the legislature for 20-something years, so I've learned never to make predictions. But I would say that if it's something that is geared towards trying to attract more individuals into a certain profession, teaching profession, it could get some legs, yes.
That's all the questions I had.
Good question.
I appreciate you being here too. I
My
know,
pleasure.
I know Tuesday night you've got to have better things to do, but we appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
Board members, any other questions? Ms. Porter?
I'm not sure if this is for Mr. Price, but maybe Dr. Moore. That made me think about if we've already implemented the years of experience change in our salary schedule for those who are coming from a different district. Do you know if that's something that we've changed? I know it may have been a recommendation from the study, the salary study. Do you know? So like, if someone leaves, do they have to start from scratch for their years of experience from a district, or was there some kind of change?
But for teachers, no.
Yes. Did we
No,
have any?
it's not for teachers. What this bill is geared toward, I had the privilege of serving on on Superintendent Weaver's Strategic Recruitment and Retention Task Force. And this is something that is the superintendents advocated for our career technical teachers.
Got it.
Because right now, they are not given the equivalent number of years of service based on their expertise. So for example, if you have a master electrician, should that person receive years of service credit? And how many years because they are a master electrician versus a traditionally trained educator who comes from another district with 10 years, they get their 10 years. So what is the mechanism by which we could do that for our CTE programs, which will help us then recruit and retain teachers for our workforce development programs?
And does that include second career teachers?
That I cannot answer,
Okay.
because I think it depends on which type of teacher they're coming in as.
All right, and then, Mr. Price, we have something happening on April 9th, right?
Yes, Day at the Capitol, April 9th. That was on the list of things to mention, so thank you for reminding me of that. Every year.
I think we have one more question first. Let's get to questions, then we'll come back. Ms. Washington, did you have your hand? Okay.
So I know that a part of the education proposed budget was to eliminate the bachelor's degree plus, the bachelor's plus 18. So would districts still have the option to offer that? And then I know it would have to be covered out of their own general fund budget, correct?
You're exactly right, Ms. Washington. The elimination at the state level doesn't mean that it goes away at the local level, and you all would still be able to recognize that. It just means they're not going to pay for it at the state level.
The state didn't pay for that anyway. It already came out
It
of
was
the
a- it was
district's
a sale.
budget.
It
They
was a-
paid like a setup, but we still had to,
It's one
Carry
of
the money.
the
Yes.
Bachelor Plus 18 is one of
Right.
the salary schedule cells, if you call them, whatever they call them. So it's currently in there, but they're basically trying to compact them. So that particular one goes away in terms of what the state's going to be paying for. And so, but you all can still do that and still recognize that.
okay. Any other questions? If not, I think you want to wrap up with
I did
Capitol
a
Day.
plug for Day at the Capitol. Thank you, April 9th, and look forward to hopefully seeing you all there. Come up to the State House and go get a briefing, then go across the street and talk to our legislators. And Madam Chair, I also wanted to thank you for the opportunity to be here to recognize Ms. Anderson when she was here, because she served several years on our board of directors and was a wonderful addition to our board. So I thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Price, for your time and for sharing that information. We do appreciate you, and we will see you on April 9th.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Looking
thank you so
forward to it.
much.
Thank you.
With that, we will now move to item 10.0, new business, action requested. Item 10.1, change of time for the April 10th, 2025 board workshop to 2:30 p.m. May I please have a motion regarding the change of time for April 10th, 2025 board workshop to 2:30 p.m.?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Dennis?
I move the change the scheduled start time of the April 10th, 2025 board workshop from 5:30 to 2:30 p.m.
The motion has been made to move the meeting to 2:30 p.m. by Mr. Dennis. Is there a second?
Second. Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Dennis and seconded by Mrs. Williams. Is there any discussion? Board members, any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. If you can put a start time of 2:30, I move to change the start time of the April 10th board meeting to 2:30, not 5:30. Well, okay, you put from 5:30. Okay, that's fine. The vote is 6 yes, 1 no, the motion passes. We will now move to item 11.0, agenda item for next meeting. Dr. Moore?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting is March the 11th, 2025. At this meeting, I do want to make sure everyone is aware we will have our public input session for the 2025-2026 budget. That will start at 5 p.m. The board will then meet to conduct its regularly scheduled board meeting for business items at 5:30 p.m. with a call to action. We will then have the approval of the agenda, followed by releasing to executive session. During executive session, we will discuss receipt of legal advice, a contractual matter regarding the purchase of property, student appeals, student admission request into the district's adult education program, employment recommendations and certified releases. Resume with public session at 6:30 p.m. We will then move to inspirational moment and the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by our consent agenda, which will include approval of the consent agenda, approval of minutes from previous meetings, classified employment releases and in-district transfers, and local board-approved courses. We will then move to public participation, followed by voting on executive session items, which will include contractual matter regarding the purchase of property, student appeals, student admission request into the district's adult education program, employment recommendations and certified releases, and as needed for items discussed in executive session. We'll then move to new business action requested, and we will have the approval of a budget transfer. Next, we'll have new business, no action requested. Board will receive a presentation on the proposed 2026-2027 academic calendar and Human Resources report on the Upbeat Engagement Survey results. We'll then move to reviewing the draft agenda for the March 25th, 2025 regularly scheduled board meeting, followed by our if needed items of public participation, executive session continued, voting on executive session items, and conclude with board and superintendent comments.
Board members, are there any revisions or additions you would like to see made to the next meeting agenda or to a future agenda? Ms. Porter?
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to make a request for getting some information on the number of students that are not attending Lifeboat Academy due to transportation issues. And I believe this is either the third or possibly fourth request. Thank you.
Okay, just for clarity, Ms. Porter, I'm not sure what you're asking, because I'm not sure if the district wouldn't have that information or all of it, because parents may not share with them that they're having transportation issues. So a little more clarity on that.
Not sure if we're tracking whether or not, or if students or families have not communicated that concern. What's the confusion?
Right. Well, how would we know? I mean, because some parents may not communicate that, so we wouldn't have a record of knowing
Okay.
that. So what you want is just if parents have communicated that?
Yes. how
Only if they
many?
have communicated that.
Okay, and then maybe a second column of how many that never showed up that were supposed to show up to attend.
So you mean never showed up and just dropped out?
Correct. Well,
Oh.
we wouldn't know. So whatever the number is of the students that
Okay.
didn't show up.
So does that make sense, Dr. Moore? I just want to make sure we get clarity for you guys.
Yes. I
Okay.
want to make sure, Ms. Porter, you're
you.
asking that we give you an update on the number of students who have not attended Blythewood Academy, meaning the ones
That
that
were
were,
scheduled.
that were, through the hearing officer or through the board, were scheduled to attend.
Yes.
And if the parent provided that information, that transportation may be the reason why, which
Correct.
we would, when a parent appeals, I just want to be very clear, a parent doesn't appeal the decision to Blythewood Academy based on transportation, because that's not in our policy.
Right.
But if the parent indicated transportation is an issue, then we may have that data.
Correct, because
Okay.
we've received that information before, but what we may receive may be one compared to the actual number, just because parents not having ways or thinking to come here and voice that concern to us. So I'd like to get a more accurate number for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We will now move. Oh, I'm sorry. You think so? Okay, Mrs. Washington?
When will we get our next pupil service update to include the expulsions?
It's in the third quarter, so I don't have the schedule in front of me, Ms. Washington, but it is upcoming.
Okay. And then the other thing that I did want to know is with this upbeat presentation or update, can Human Resources also provide, what are we doing for teacher mental health, teacher working conditions? I know that there was a group or something that was done at each school, or task force or a group, based off of the working conditions survey results from last year. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so can that be included in that upbeat engagement, since that all pertains to engagement? Is that possible, is what I'm asking? Or does that need to be a request for a future board meeting? How much, I don't know how much of that information.
Well, the Upbeat survey is about culture and climate and ties into the initiative I began at this year, which was that every school has a working condition committee,
Okay.
which came out of the work we did last year with the
Right.
South Carolina Department of Education Working Condition Group.
Okay.
So we will give you that update around the Upbeat data from that survey, from our staff, as what they indicated are concerns. That would not be a part, the mental health piece would not be a part of that, because it doesn't specifically talk about mental health and mental health services.
Okay. I'll make a motion at the next board meeting once I get some additional information, so I'll know exactly what I would like for you all to present.
Thank you.
Any of the board members? Okay. We will now move to item 12.1, public participation. And we do have one person who have signed up for the second public participation. So I will go over the rule. You will be given 3 minutes to address the board. To assist with timing, the lights on the table in front of me will change colors from green to yellow to red. When you have 30 seconds remaining, the light will turn yellow. When your time is up, the light will turn red and you will hear the tone indicating your time to speak has expired. Before we begin, I will remind you that our meetings are streamed live and recorded. According to policy BEDH, comments from the public should not include gossip, defamatory words, or abusive and vulgar language. The policy also prohibits in public session any expression of personal complaints about individual school personnel or any other person connected with the school system. Specific student or personnel issues should be handled through the appropriate procedures as indicated in the district policy. Questions asked during public participation will be referred to a staff member for a response at a later time. With that being said, we will now have Victoria Baith and her team.
Hello, Board. Thank you for your time tonight. I'm Tori Vaith, one of the Board Certified Behavior Analysts for the district. I'm here with my team, Lauren Sturkey and Malicia Gerald. We prepared a document for all of you that has some detailed information about what we do, who we are, what our training is, and how valuable we are to the school district. Just to give you a quick overview, we're graduate level professionals. We're experts in applied behavior analysis, which is the science of behavior change. We're passionate about incorporating trauma-informed practices into the schools. We work with students of all ages from pre-K up through 21 who engage in some of our very challenging behavior. We see things like physical aggression towards peers and teachers, property destruction, self-harm and suicide attempts, and elopement out of school buildings. We develop some treatment plans for our students called behavioral intervention plans, which help them achieve successful outcomes by decreasing challenging behaviors and teaching appropriate replacement skills. We train and supervise staff in implementing evidence-based behavioral interventions and strategies in special education environments. We also develop and monitor data collection systems and analyze the effectiveness of our programs. Additionally, we are the only district personnel who are able to provide the required 5% of supervision for our registered behavior technicians. These registered behavior technicians work individually with some of our most involved students. Also, RBTs and their contracting agencies at this time are paid more for an hourly rate than we are currently paid. Our expertise has been provided for both compensatory services and mediation agreements for some highly contentious cases involving legal proceedings. And BCBA support is often requested by parents and administrators in some of those most challenging cases. Because we are district employees, we can work on building relationships. We're all on the same team as our special educators, our administrators, support staff. We can bring in that outside perspective while still being a teammate and apply our behavior analytic strategies along with training all levels of staff. So we've been able to see positive change through our practice, not only for the individual students we work with, but for students who benefit indirectly from changes in the environment. So in closing, we've spent all of our careers in public education. We value our students, we want to advocate for them, but we ask that you take a close look at our salaries and see if we can bring them up to the market rate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll love to see you guys back here when we're having our budget meetings. Thank you. We will now move to item 15.0, Board and Superintendent Comments. We will start with Mr. Trapp.
I figured you were going to start with me, but.
Well, I can come back.
No.
If you want me to, I can come back, and everyone has said what you need to say, and you don't have to say anything, and we can keep moving.
No, I'll tell you, I want to share a couple of experiences I've had recently, and they just are really on the surface, just a real emotional roller coaster I've been on lately, in a positive way. Okay, I don't want you to. I've really seen a lot of things that have concerned me, and it has really increased my concern about our students and the generation that we're producing. But I want to talk a little bit about the conference we went to this weekend with the South Carolina School Board Association. One of the sessions Saturday morning, everybody's nodding their head. Oh gosh, I'll tell you, I cried a lot, and I don't like crying. Okay, but the guy really, unfortunately, I was able to relate to a lot of the things he talked about in his childhood, especially that were very challenging, and it really just brought out some very intense emotions in me, and it really increased my desire to take care of the children in our school district. We have a lot of children that really have great needs, and it's just such a challenging world they live in. And anyway, if I brought nothing else back from the conference, I certainly brought home a greater desire to reach out to those that really have no one else to take care of. And Miss Washington can punch me in the arm if I get too emotional, okay? All right. But the only other thing I want to share is something I saw last night, and I'd thought about it ever since last night. It was at the Black History Month honoree program, and I thought about it all day. And when I was walking in today, and it's worth pointing out, I got stuck in traffic for 15 minutes. Okay, I got stuck in traffic in front of Ridgeview High School. They're paving the road, and anyway, so. It just so happened I walked in at exactly the right time for someone to catch me and share something with me that made me realize that what I was thinking about was definitely what I needed to share. But, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but we had one of the things they did last night was had some of the students present themselves as historical figures and tell a little bit about those historical figures. And some of them were very dramatic. I mean, they really played the part. The one that played Robinson. Yeah, I'm not a baseball person. Okay, so but he was very animated, and I was very I smiled a lot when he was doing his part. But the one that got to me the most was a young lady that was there from Matilda Evans that was playing the part of Matilda Evans, because I had spoke to a gentleman beforehand for quite a while as we were coming into the room that is writing. He's part of a team that's writing a book about her, and this young lady really she played the part. She got up there, and it was very obvious that she had spent a great deal of her time and effort to memorize and learn about this lady that was just a wonderful person and that helped so much with the medical conditions years ago. And I want to give you a little detail here because it's important. She got about halfway through her presentation. I think she lost her train of thought. Now, I lose my train of thought a lot. I've done it 5 times already in the last 2 minutes. But she came down off the stage, and it was, and as she came down, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope she can get this back and go up and finish, because I was enjoying what she was saying. And she did. She went down, and I think she got her script and went up there and finished her presentation, and it was dynamite. Okay, it was great. But I don't know what Miss Evans or Dr. Evans thought about anything last night, but I would like to believe that she would have been very proud and very, very grateful for what this young lady did. But the thing that impressed me the most was that she didn't give up. She could have stayed down there. And I was sitting there rooting for her. I'm like, yeah, you got to go back up there. And she did. And anyway, I just want to thank that young lady, because she set an example, not just for our students, but for me. We can't give up. We're here to do a job, and it's the greatest job in the world. There's nothing greater than taking care of the children in this district. There's no greater responsibility than we have here on the board to make sure that the district has the things they need. And I just want to really thank that young lady for the passion and effort that she put into her presentation last night, and tell her she did a great job. And I saw her over there, and I could tell that she was a little upset that she didn't do the job she wanted to. And I wanted to go over right then and thank her, but well, she was making me cry. So I had to sit there for about 5 minutes and get my composure before I walked over there. But I just want to thank her and all the other students. They were great. It's so good to see these students take an interest in history and learn about some of the people, some of the pioneers that went before them. And I hope we all can learn from their example. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Trapp. Ms. Williams.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be very brief. But today I had the opportunity of visiting 4 schools today. I will say that, as Dr. Moore reiterates so very often about the value of belonging, attending those 4 schools that today made me feel as if I belong to the district. Just the camaraderie, the culture of the district, it's a lot that I could say, but it seems that it is woven within the walls of the schools that I visited today. Teaching and learning is very evident within the schools. Free to focus is at its best at the moment because of the engagement of students. I was able to see students engage with one another, collaborate with one another in conversations and authentic collaboration. You didn't see a lot of workbooks, worksheets, things like that. It was great engagement, which will move the needle for our district in pushing them forward. Again, I went to South Carolina School Board Association as well. It was a very pivotal point in understanding how things work. I will say that I would like to see we looked at Florence School District 1 as a workshop that was happening, and we looked at behavior and alternatives to education instead of expulsion. So that's one thing that I would like to see us explore in our district, alternatives to expulsion, the in-between, because at the end of the day, we are responsible for our students, and we would like them to be productive citizens in society. Last, I also enjoyed, we were able to go to Westwood's basketball game the other day. I mean, almost had a heart attack at the game because it was a last-minute buzzer beater. But it was great for us to be able to be down there at the same time and to enjoy each other as colleagues on the board, to be able to see and to root on our team of Westwood. And congratulations to all those who are making it to the next round of the playoffs, and to those who just fell shy, but their teamwork and hard efforts just to be able to do what they needed to do. So great job to all of our schools who were in sports this year. And happy Black History Month. Just want to say celebration and happy early birthday to my son, whose birthday is Friday. So everyone have a great evening as well as a great remainder of the month.
Thank you. Mrs. Washington?
So I want to start off with a quote that says, if indignity tears us apart, then dignity can put us back together, by Donna Hicks. The session on dignity really just was amazing at the South Carolina School Board Association. It's probably the best conference that they've hosted that I've attended that I felt like I could take some nuggets away from. I really enjoyed learning from a school, although you hear from school districts of various sizes, but McCormick, I just have to give them a shout out. They talked about how they do these super duper deep data dives, and they are very well versed in understanding their school report cards and how the points are calculated so that they're able to make the projections, and all of their teachers and their staff members are speaking the same language, and I was just taken aback about how all of the data and the growth that they share. One small campus, and they're doing mighty things, and so I just have to give them a shout out. And like Ms. Williams said, the alternative programs, these are here setting a standard of high expectations. The marketing and media one, do not allow others to tell your story. We know that the media will tell their version, but we can tell our own version. And I think that is so powerful. Shout out to Florence School District 1 for sharing how they have pretty much taken, control of the media stories by creating not just a culture in their schools, but in their community where people know who's doing what. They're recognizing their students and their staff in their schools. And I just thought their story was amazing. And then Doc, because he reminded me to not get so far away from the mission that we are not human. You know, I think about times that we sit and we make decisions and, you know, it's like, oh, is this the best decision for the child? But I always think about the human side, that we got to remember that our students, our parents, they're sending us their best, whether we want to accept that or not. And in this work, one of the things that he said, and he came in, and if you looked at him and you saw him, you probably would have passed judgment and was like, who is this dude on the stage with these baggy clothes on and this kid's book bag? But he said, thank you for not judging my entrance. And my entrance because it was not always the best. I may not have always said the right things. I may not have always voted the right way, but I want to say thank you for not judging my entrance because I'm a product of this district. And one of the things that he said that really brought tears to my eyes, because I thought about I could have been anywhere in the Southeast working great jobs, but I chose to come back and live and work and play and shop because I love to shop at Belt right across the street. I could have been anywhere in the world, but I chose to plant my feet and my family right here in Richland School District 2 because I am who I am because of the instruction and the teachers and the principals and the leaders and the paraprofessionals and the custodians and the cafeteria workers. I am who I am today because of Richland 2. You all have an amazing day. Tell the right story because we are doing great and exceedingly great things in this district. Have a great evening.
Thank you, guys. I'm sending y'all back to another conference in the next week or two because I'm getting some church up in here. Okay, Mr. Dennis.
Well, okay. So I want to start off and say thank you to all our guest speakers tonight for sharing their inspirational moment and all the presenters. For months, I've had the pleasure of visiting several schools, doing a lot of events, and I must say the dedication that I see in our students to demonstrate their learning is both remarkable and motivating in this district. It is really motivational for me. And I also attended the South Carolina School Board annual conference this past weekend, and along with myself and Mrs. Williams, we are now officially certified by state law. So there's a good thing that came out of that. You know, and I missed a little bit the morning that all the stuff that they are talking about, I did not get to see because I didn't listen to my wife and didn't go to the doctor and had a sinus infection and ended up in the ER. But I did make it to the lunch part. And a lot of good things, like how we can talk about the future, such as using AI, how we can help everybody in this building and our students to learn how to use that, not replace the job, but use it to help augment ourselves and what we can do with data and things like that. And also the importance of emphasizing our career and college readiness early in the educational journey with our students in elementary school. I think that's one of the biggest things we can do. And I also learned, teachers and everybody, if you're out there listening, power school. Make sure that's 100% correct because that definitely goes against our report card if one thing's messed up. Found that out. And then, you know, furthermore, I learned one good thing about the state of South. And with our CATE and vocational programs here in Richland too, if we can start rolling that out to the younger generations, like I said, in elementary school, we can grow beyond anything for these students because they have a website out there. It's called future.sc.gov, which can assist middle and high school students right now in exploring various paths. And it's not just students, it's anybody in South Carolina. But they're wanting us to use it, and they're wanting us to give them information, what our kids need and whatnot. So, you know, whether that involves pursuing college or developing technical skills or securing internships with this website, you know, it just showcases what Richland 2 is doing because what I learned, what they're talking about, they're coming to us and asking us what we're doing on us. So if we're putting more out there, we are leading the state. When I ran for school board, I said, I want to lead the state. I want to lead the nation. And it looks like we're starting that journey, and Richland 2's already been doing it. So I'm excited for that. And you know, the clear and continuous growth and staying ahead of the competition from other districts and charter schools is essential to what we do here. And a little bit of competition, I'm not afraid of it. It makes me want to do more. So, because I like to win. You know, and all we got to do is just work together as a district, as a community, and I see everything being pretty good for here. And I would like to just take a second, and I would like to wish my little Savannah happy birthday tomorrow. And my son turned. Thank y'all very much, and y'all have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Mrs. Nash.
Okay, I too attended the conference, but first I want to say thank you to everybody for being here tonight. Thank you to all you guys that got honored tonight. What an incredible thing that you all are doing. So congratulations on all of that. And then the conference was really good. Honestly, I'll be honest, I probably have been extremely critical of our conferences in many ways. But this one I felt was the best one for so many reasons. And I think part of it is because we kept the main thing, and that was how can we better ourselves and how can we better our districts and be better people, because I think it starts at that part, being better people. And so Dr. Adolph Brown talked a little bit about like not killing the seed before it turns into a tree. And I think about that a lot, and it's Black History Month. And one of the things I'll say, I don't really ever have notes. I don't know if y'all know that. There's no notes here, but my dad's a preacher, so that's why. But one of the things he said, it made me think a lot about where I came from and the seeds that were planted in me. And it's Black History Month, but what I realized about my parents, and I'm super thankful for, is Black History Month was every Saturday at my house after we did our Sunday school lesson. And my parents would go through and tell us about all of the great things, like Gordon Parks, amazing photographer, mathematicians who were Black mathematicians who changed the course of history and life, Charles Drew. I mean, you name it. They didn't just talk about the struggle, but my father dropped out of school in the 10th grade, and him and my mom walked across the stage and got their doctorates together after hustle, like with 3 daughters. And then I think about my grandmother who had literally nothing, came from nothing, and cleaned houses for a living, and was able to go and like take care of her kids and then leave them land. I'm telling you, the stories are endless. I have an uncle who could not read but made a successful construction business. It doesn't matter where the seed is. It's all that matters is that it grows. I have a cousin who's met the Queen of England and creates apps from one of the greatest schools ever known. And then I have my nephew who wrote a book his senior year in high school that was on the Amazon's bestseller read for short reads. I want to say to our students, it doesn't matter where you come from. The struggle, I think that so many people, when you're in a History Month, to think about that. Think about those people who went on to do amazing things, who had literally nothing. And I look at my life and I see where a couple of years back, my nephew and my father were able to find some of our ancestors, not birth certificates because they weren't classified as being people, but they found where they were classified as being cattle in Edgefield, South Carolina. But look where we are now. And I think about that, and I think about the victory of that, and how great that is. And I'll tell you, it shaped my life to tell me that there's nothing anybody can't tell me that I can't do. And it's why I'm here today. The fights you see, all of that is because of those people. And I want to thank the parents who do that as well. And if you're a parent that's not doing that, the struggle is the struggle, but the victory is so great at the end. And so I just want to leave you all with that, and I want to say God bless you all and have a great night.
Thank you. Mrs. Porter?
Thank you. Thank you for those who attended this evening and celebrated our Teacher of the Years. Ms. Nash, I'm glad you just mentioned the struggle, because the speaker that inspired many of us at the conference this weekend, Doc Brown, I did the math as he told us different stories of how his life has been affected by earth-shattering trauma. And this man had something earth-shattering trauma almost every other year. and of his child's life. And I just much, but yet pouring into others for a living was just incredible. Our opening speaker, Clint Swindoll, resonated with me, and I want to share that every day you show up, you are either adding to or taking away from the culture of your school district. There is no middle ground. And he asked if we were an oh yeah, an okay, or a oh no. And I'd like to say that I get to work with many of the oh yes on a regular basis, and I do believe that many of our teachers are oh yes. So look up Clint Swindoll if you want to learn more about what he had to say. And we experienced disengagement, and so it was a nice reminder of what we need to do to get back in it. I also enjoyed the breakout session with McCormick, Ms. Washington, and I highlighted just a few things, and I'm trying not to repeat anything that you said, but their MTS team was the accountability team, and I noticed that they had a district level team and a school level team and a team level team amongst the grade levels. And there were some titles that I thought were pretty cool that were part of that data-driven accountability team. Not just your principals, but your school counselors, the SDC, that was important for that report card that you mentioned, and then career director and AVID director, because as we're tracking our students, and it helped them also zero in and focus on what they needed to do to get our students there. So that was a great highlight. I also enjoyed Greenwood District 50's presentation, and they discussed how they were able to make adjustments to make internal changes that affected the student to teacher ratio. And that was all changes within leadership and job positions. So that was pretty interesting and innovative. I also enjoyed the social media session with Attorney Duff and learned a lot about being an elected official and posting online. Excuse me. And then our last session, I also attended the marketing session, different ways you can use marketing to help tell your story or tell your story the way you would like for it to be told, and got some great ideas of using the front cover of established magazines in our community, and how that is an opportunity for us, and highlighting the programs that we have within our district, like our CAPE programs, that I can't tell you how many times I run into someone and they say, I didn't know we had that in Richland too, or I didn't know that our students could take that class. So I looked at all of those opportunities and was really inspired. Also, I enjoyed the last night's program with FACE, and I would like to say that we had India Hill Brown recognized last night, and so exciting to be able to go to our Richland library and add her audiobooks to my playlist. And I checked them all out. Now, I don't know if I'll be able to read them all before I have to check them back in and recheck them out, but it was exciting to know a little bit about where she came from and that she's a product of Richland too, because I remember having her book, one of her books, especially in my own classroom. And then also I wanted to recognize Kali Gallman, our Spring Valley honoree, alumni, and learning about all the things that she does within our community that contributes back to the community that she came from as well. And it was nice to see a fellow classmate there. Also, I just want to do a small plug for our food collection backpack program. Going, or there's a scarcity of it, so please note that we're collecting food at the first floor in R2I2. When you see programs that we've had for many, many years, sometimes you forget that they need to be replenished and so forth, so I just wanted to put out a plug for that. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, there are great and wonderful things happening in our district. I, too, attended the South Carolina School Board conference, and the speakers resonated with me also. In fact, Mr. Trapp and I actually did a session on the Dignity Index because we were so moved by that particular presentation. But it's the last time we got together. So the first one is the Retirees Luncheon. We recently had the privilege of celebrating our retirees at the annual Retiree Luncheon. And so this event was a wonderful opportunity to honor the dedicated service of those who have given so much to our students and community. Their contributions have made a lasting impact, and we extend our deepest gratitude for their years of commitment to education. And I left them with this question: are the children well? And can they serve the children to help the children be well? So we were very excited to just connect with them. It was a great experience. We also had the award winner. If you're not familiar with this award, it's like the Oscar for teachers. So it is excellence in education is the core value of Richland 2, and we are beyond thrilled to recognize Kaylee George, who was honored as this year's Milken Education Award winner. This national recognition is a testament to her passion, innovation, and dedication to her students at Forest Lake Elementary. This prestigious award comes with a trip to Los Angeles. When they made that announcement, they said she won a trip, and I was thinking Hawaii, but then they said LA, and I said, okay. And $25,000 cash prize for her to use any way that she's just that kind of teacher. Always like to share some information around our academics, and I've heard this theme through several board members around data. So academic excellence remains at the forefront of our mission in Richland School District 2. Schools have just completed their second round of data meetings where they work with the district and their colleagues to assess what is working and what's not working in their schools based on benchmark and map winter data. Now, school leaderships are making intentional moves as we get closer to state summative assessments, which will begin in April. In addition, the Department of Academics is also being very intentional in reviewing systems and targeting improvements. Both teachers and district staff participated in the first review of the district formative assessment systems on Friday, February the 14th at Dent Middle School. I have participated in these data meetings, and I'll give you one example. Today, when I was walking one of the schools, I asked the principal, based on your data meeting, tell me again what is the area that you have to target? And he said, my third grade, Dr. Moore. And he started explaining what the issue was in third grade. And so we are doing those deep data dives and talking with our teachers, but not just the teachers, the administrators, the district support staff, the school support staff. Everyone is in the room. Everyone is around the table, everyone is contributing, and everyone culture and climate. And so let me tell you about an event that unfortunately I missed because I was at the South Carolina School Board Association, and that was the Soul Train event. We have video, and if you're in it, you gotta own it. The recent Soul Train event at the district office brought energy, excitement, and a true sense of unity to our district. It was a celebration of culture, music, and community spirit, showcasing the creativity and enthusiasm of our students and staff. Events like this remind us of the importance of inclusivity and joy, which is one of our core beliefs in our educational journey. Now, some of those moves were old, but we're not going to comment on that because that's the best that they could do. And so we have been, as we attended, several of us, the basketball championship season is going. We are incredibly proud of our student athletes for their outstanding performance in the recent basketball championships. As mentioned by, I think it was Williams, several of our board members we were able to go see Westwood High School boys win in a last-second nail-biter last week. And right now, unfortunately, I have to give you an update on the Red Hawks girls who were playing round 3 of the Class 5A division. They did lose a score of 53-42, but we celebrate their success getting to this point. The dedication, teams of the student athletes exemplifies the values of, so congratulations to our students, coaches, and supporters for this well-earned success. And at the next board meeting, I'll be able to talk about the success of our wrestling team because they are in the championship too. And last but not least, We had a wonderful Black History Month event last night in which we honored and celebrated Black History Month with this event, which has been taking place for nearly a decade. And the event is designed to recognize trailblazers and community members who have been instrumental in the success of Richland District 2. This powerful gathering highlighted the achievements, contributed the way for progress in our schools and beyond. It was truly an inspiring evening that reinforced the importance of honoring history while continuing to create opportunities for future generations. And Mr. Trapp, the young lady you were speaking about is Miss Maylin Carter, the daughter of Kelsey Carter, our military liaison. And she did a phenomenal job. The strength that she modeled, and this is what I told her, you modeled the strength by going back up on that stage that many adults do not have. Most of us would have gone down, sat down, and just not bothered. But she picked up her notes, she went back up on the stage, she finished her speech, and then she went, sat down, and got emotional. Lesson for all of us. As I said to the reporter last night, Black.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. The thing about going last, they have said everything that you really wanted to say. So I'll just find a few things, but one thing I will say that I did not attend the South Carolina School Board Association. Oh yeah, because I've been going for 12 years. So I'm giving them the opportunity to catch up. And oh yeah, they're doing a great job. And oh yeah, I want you guys to be presenting next year. Oh yeah, you can do it because we are the leading state in Richland School District 2 in the nation. Oh yeah. Okay, thank you. I just stole that from them since they said it. But so I'm going to say congratulations to Darren Brown, who is the 2025 Richland Northeast weekend to compete in the National Health in Virginia. So good luck to Darren. Also want to say that to Melinda Anderson, I don't think I need to say much, but thank you. Thank you for allowing all of us to stand on your shoulders. Because once again, I'm going to say this, with Melinda being one of the first to be sworn in and the first African American, she built the pathway for all of us to walk. Every African American board member that you have seen, it is because of Melinda Anderson. Many things that you've seen in Richland School District 2, Melinda Anderson. And one thing I do want to remind you of, she was the person who implemented foreign languages in the elementary school. So it's a voice that's so loud and so strong and the will to get it done. So again, Melinda Anderson, thank you, thank you, thank you for paving the way for all of us. Congratulations to the Teachers of the Year. Kudos to the work that you do and that you continue to do around here. And I do want to brag about one of the, well, first let me say to Dr. Grant, thank you so much for a wonderful Black History program. It was just outstanding. So thank you for you and your team, the hard work that you guys actually put into that. But Miss Military 2025, oh yeah, is a Ridgeview High School graduate. So I was so proud to see one of my former students being recognized that night. So thank you so much. And also inspirational moment to Round Top. Thank you very much, Savannah. Thank you for displaying that beautiful. And also, hopefully, Dr. Weekend to support many of our teams that we have that's playing in Florence. Oh yeah, Dr. Moore. So I hope we'll get a chance. I like that. I hope we get a chance to be able to do that. And with that, I would like to make an adjournment. Oh yeah. Make a motion to adjourn the meeting for tonight.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mrs. Washington.
I move to adjourn the February 25th, 2025 regular board meeting.
The motion has been made to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, hand raised, all in favor? Raise your right hand. 7 yes, 0 no. The meeting is adjourned. Oh, yeah.